This is our 2018 Ford Raptor that we've had now for 6 months. In this time, we've put almost 7,000 miles on it. And if you're a follower of this channel, you will know this truck is actually my wife's truck. So you might be asking yourself, how come she isn't doing the owner's review update if it's her truck? Well, one, she doesn't really want to be on camera all that often. Two, all the ladies of the family is in Orlando, Disney World. I wasn't allowed to come for whatever reason. It's girl power, I was told. So here we are. I'm the one doing it, of course. And the fact of the matter is that most of the time when we're in the truck together, the whole family, I'm the one driving. So I do have some experience of this truck. So the purpose of today's video is, of course, to cover the experience that we've had for the first 6 months of owning a Ford Raptor. The good, and of course also the bad. So what we'll start by doing here is, if you're new to the channel and you haven't watched any previous videos of this Raptor, we're going to do a quick exterior walk around, talk about some of the options that this truck has. So it's a 2018 Ford Raptor in the color Leadfoot Gray. That's exactly the color that my wife wanted. I actually surprised her with this truck. If you're interested in seeing that video, I'll link it up here in the corner. But it is fully loaded. If you know anything about Fords, you know they have a lot of trim levels and equipment packages. This one has the 802A package, meaning it is pretty much fully loaded. There are just a couple more optional features that you can pick for a Raptor, even though you have the highest equipment package that we don't have on the truck, such as carbon fiber interior parts. We don't have the forged wheel option either. F-150s come with something called the box link system also, where you get ramps that you can pull out from the tailgate to help in, let's say, load up a four-wheeler or something like that. We don't have that option. And then also a tailgate step that would be sitting right here. But other than that, it has pretty much everything that you can imagine. Now, we personalized it a little bit. We got the wheels powder coated in black, which makes a huge difference in my opinion. We also added a tonneau cover and we tinted the front windows. So let's talk about the engine. This is the high output 3.5 liter Ecoboost, producing 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. Of course, a lot of controversy about this engine when the second gen Raptor came out. Being a twin turbocharged V6, it no longer sounds like the baddest truck on the planet should sound. But not everyone cares about sound. There's no mistaking that this engine is amazing. It's very powerful, like we said, 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. Extremely fast truck as well. Not that it's really meant for that. I have a separate video where I actually did performance tests on this Raptor here, and we did 0 to 60 in 5-second range somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but if you want to and you're interested, you can check that video out as well. But during the time that we've had this truck, we haven't had any issues whatsoever with the engine. We will, however, talk about the fuel economy of this truck once we get out on the road. Now, what makes the Raptor very unique, at least in my opinion, is the suspension. It comes standard with Fox Racing shocks. It has 13 inches of suspension travel up front and 13.9 inches of suspension travel in the rear. Now, for most people that buy a Ford Raptor, they're most likely not going to be using the truck for its pure intentions, which is off-road. For most people, like ourselves, I admit it, it's going to be a pavement princess. Like I said, my wife owns this truck. She doesn't really go off-roading. She just loves trucks. It makes her feel safe. She has a lot of room. That's why she wanted this vehicle. So when you're not utilizing the suspension for off-road use, it is still absolutely amazing while it's out on the road. It's probably one of the most comfortable vehicles I have ever driven. It is like driving a gigantic Cadillac. But with that being said, hopefully the camera picked that up. It's a very squeaky suspension. I don't know why it's doing that. it's pretty much done it since we bought the truck. Some people have been telling us that it probably started sounding that way after you went off-roading in sand dunes while we were in Florida.
Oh my God.
But isn't that what the truck is made for? Why would the suspension start squeaking from a little sand? It goes without saying, I'm gonna have this checked out. All right, so before we take the truck out on the road here, we'll just quickly talk about the interior, which is phenomenal. We got leather up top here. The dashboard, leather seats have been holding up pretty well. Also, like I said in the beginning, it has pretty much every thinkable feature out there on the market. Sync 3 infotainment system, which is great. I've done plenty of reviews on the system here, so I'm not going to go in depth into that. But we have cooled seats, especially on a day like this. It's October and we have 90 degrees outside today. And they are in fact air-conditioned seats, not like in my other car, the Mercedes, where they are ventilated. It doesn't really help all that much, but they are currently on and it makes a huge difference. We have adaptive cruise control. We have 6 different driving modes. So we can see here terrain modes. This is normal, sport, weather, mud and sand, where it shifts to 4-wheel drive. Got Baja mode. I actually, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, I've never tried Baja mode out. And then we have rock and crawl mode, of course, where it shifts to 4 low. And in sport, it basically gives you a little better throttle response. It holds the gears for a little longer. Now we're going to talk about this transmission more while we're driving here. Now, interesting to note with the Ford Raptor is it has the most powerful power plant available for an F-150. It actually has pretty bad towing capability. I don't remember the exact number, but it's around 8,000 pounds, which is pretty bad. If you buy a regular F-150 with the 3.5 liter Ecoboost, which has less power, obviously it has to do with gearing and suspension and stuff like that. It has the class leading towing capability of 12,300, I think. I might be wrong, a couple hundred pounds there, but it is pretty interesting. When you buy a Raptor, you think that you'll be able to do anything with it, but you can't tow as much as you can with, let's say, a regular F-150. All right, so before we get out on the road here, I'm going to talk about this. This is a recall notice, and I'm going to mention this because I just got it in the mail the other day, and it's actually the second recall notice I'm getting on this truck since the time that we've owned it. The first one was actually for the transmission, and I know I've mentioned it a couple times here. We're going to talk more about the transmission while we're driving, but before we do that, we'll mention that that recall was for a possible missing roll pin. Basically means that you put your transmission in park and it might not actually go into park, basically meaning that your truck could be rolling down your driveway after you parked it, or something even more serious. You don't want a big vehicle like this to go AWOL on its own. And now for the second recall that we've gotten here. Just the other day we got this in the mail. Basically, what's the risk? A fire in the B-pillar area may spread within the vehicle and increase the risk of injury. You may notice odor and or smoke as the fire develops. You don't say. So the B-pillar, I guess here. So it has to do with the airbags. Something's wrong within the airbag that they need to check. Could be a fire hazard. Let's go for a drive. So I know this ownership review type update started off a little negative with these recalls and squeaking suspension, but other than that, this truck it's amazing. And you know, if you watch my channel at all prior to watching this video, you know that I would have wanted it to have a V8. I love the sound. I just feel that a Raptor should sound like a V8 truck. Inside of the truck, I mean, I don't know how you explain the sound. It's definitely some kind of induction noise type thing. Is it absolutely horrible? No, but in the lack of sound, it has amazing performance. This engine is so powerful. And while you're driving on the highway. I mean, it is amazing what Ford has done with this suspension and made it such a comfortable cruiser. Even though it's not really made for that, it's supposed to be this Baja off-road king. You know, Ford understands that most people that buy this truck, they're not going to be using the truck for that. So I think they've tuned the suspension to be this perfect highway cruising luxury truck. Now this transmission is the new 10-speed automatic transmission that was co-developed with GM. Now it shifts smooth, it's a nice transmission, but I'm of the opinion that I don't really understand why we need a 10-speed transmission. I just feel like it's sort of overkill, and let me demonstrate. If you keep your eye on the gear selector here, it's currently in 8th gear, doing 35 miles an hour. If I stomp on it, it goes down to 3rd. Like, that's a big jump in gears from the transmission. And I mean, I get it, of course it's going to jump down when you're stomping on the gas pedal, but to me it just kind of feels like there's too many gears there. It doesn't have to be all that many. And I've even seen the transmission go from 2nd to 5th when I stomp on it. So maybe that's just, you know, my opinion or whatever, and it's a stupid thing to point out, but I don't know, it just feels like it doesn't have to have 10 speeds. And I'm sure that there are a lot of engineering greatness in this transmission that, you know, a stupid YouTuber like myself don't understand. But in just layman's terms and everyday use, I feel like it is a bit unnecessary to have 10 gears. You hear the transmission shift a lot. It goes up and down and down and up and up and down. And I don't know, again, it just seems like excessive. I mean, this truck doesn't have the world's greatest towing capability either, like we already talked about. It's not like the fuel economy is very, very good either. If we take a look at the 2 trip meters that we have here, on the 1 trip meter, it's around 5,000 miles and it says 14.3. On the second one, it's 6,300 miles and it's at 14.5. And 2,000 of those 6,000 miles are highway driving, where we did get okay gas mileage. At one point it was up at almost 19, I think, which is good, but it's not great. This is a 6-cylinder engine, 2 turbos. I know it has a lot of power, but my point is they've downsized the engine, 2 less cylinders, added 2 turbos, and it still gets gas mileage like a V8. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. What do you guys think? Now, we will of course keep doing these ownership updates as time passes, but for the first 6 months that we've had this truck, this has been our experience. And like I said, we don't go off-roading every day. It's mainly day-to-day use, driving on regular roads, which is not the true intentions of the Ford Raptor, but it is the majority of the type of life a Ford Raptor will see. So I hope you guys found this video somewhat informative. If there's any additional questions that you have, please leave them in the comments below. And before we end this video today, if you guys didn't see the previous upload on the channel and you guys are interested in winning a GoPro Hero 7 that these driving shots have been filmed with, please check out the previous upload on the channel if you guys are interested in knowing how you can win a GoPro Hero 7. But with that, this video is over. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're stopping by for the first time and you haven't already and you want to, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.